Alright, this is our project we're doing on this video. It's my Princess Dreams. It's a key keeper box, but I have made it into a jewelry box for a little girl. We've put some decoupage, some paper in here. We did some splattering on the background with extender. We used chalky finish paint. We used pearlizing medium. We used metallic lusters. We used some new colors of paint. This was just a very quick, fun project. I hope you enjoy it. Let's get started. Okay, so I've got this piece prepared. I just want to give you some information on how to prepare your wood surfaces in case you're a new painter. The first thing that you need to do is lightly sand it, okay? Then you're going to apply some a good coat of multi-purpose sealer all over the entire piece and let it dry. If you've got high humidity, it might take a little bit longer to dry, but usually it dries within about 5 or 10 minutes. But it could take longer if you're in, a higher humidity place. Then after it dries, you're going to sand it again with a very ultra-fine foam or any kind of sanding pad. If you do not have a sanding pad, you can use a brown paper sack to sand your surface with, but you want to have it nice and smooth, no rough stuff on it at all. Even these cut edges, those edges is where a lot of rough stuff will be. Like this piece up here is still a little bit rough, so I'm going to sand it just a little bit more. Then after you sand it, you want to wipe all of the sanding dust off of it so that it doesn't mix in with your paint and cause more raised areas. Okay, so sand it. It should be smooth. I know this is our least favorite steps when we're painting on a surface because we're not doing anything pretty yet. But these are important steps. I help my husband make furniture, and it's one of the things when I'm helping him that I like to do the least, but I know that in the end it's going to make that piece of furniture look absolutely beautiful. So getting your multi-purpose sealer on and your sanding after you put it on is very important. And even after you apply your first coat of paint, you probably will have to go back and lightly sand that again. You are just going to be amazed at the finish when you do those steps. They are very important, and don't skip over them or just do them halfway. You really want to take the time. So I'm going to base coat this piece with chalky finish paint. This color is Lace. If you do not have chalky finish paint, you could use some warm white or some light buttermilk would probably be closest to this color. Okay, so I want to paint the entire piece, except for, I'm not going to paint the inside of the door. I will paint the edges of it, and I'm going to paint the sides in here, but I'm not going to paint the bottom. I will probably bring the paint in on the bottom a little bit, but I'm going to put scrapbooking paper in here and scrapbooking paper on the door. So we want to paint all of our outer edges. Let me get a little bit of water in my brush. This is really thick. I think I'm going to have to put some of this out on a plate and add a tiny bit of water to it to get it to move a little bit. There we go. I love this chalky paint. I have a couple of tables behind me that I have painted with this. I still have yet to put a design on them, but the tables are just beautiful. The chalky paint is a wonderful paint to paint with. It gives great coverage. I just love using it. So if you haven't tried it yet, I would highly recommend trying it. And if you choose not to use it, like I said, you can use just a light buttermilk or a warm white. A warm white will make a lighter, it will be lighter, but it will still be a nice color. Now this surface I'm painting on, I've had this surface for a long time. I honestly cannot remember where I purchased this surface. And I hunted all over the internet for this particular one, and I couldn't find it. Now, before I go on about finding another one like this, be sure and remove all of your hardware from this. Put it in a Ziploc bag and put it someplace. I like to put it directly above where I'm painting. You know, I have a pegboard here, so I can put it on the pegboard, but I got some little cubbies there so I won't lose it. But you need to keep it all together, so putting it in some kind of little baggie is a great idea. And if you're not going to get to paint to this right away, but you've got it prepped and ready to go, then put it in a baggie and stick it down inside here with the lid on it, or tape it to it somehow. But you don't want to lose your hardware. Okay, on to finding this surface. So I cannot, usually when I get wood surfaces, I will write on them with a pencil where I bought them at. This one I did not, and I searched all over the internet for this particular surface and could not find this exact one. But I found one that is comparable. It's a little bit deeper than this one, and it's got a it doesn't have a curved part to the top. It's more flat, but it is a nice surface, and it is at Cabin Crafters, and all that information will be in my packet. So, and you don't have to paint it on this kind of surface. I'm just showing you the surface that, you know, that I have on hand to paint on. So, it is always your choice to paint on whatever surface that you want to paint on. So, that was the only one comparable that I could find. It's a key holder, a key keeper cabinet from Cabin Crafters. But like I said, you can paint it on any surface that you want. So I'm just going to continue to base coat my piece. I'm going to put 2 coats of this chalky finish paint on here, and I am going to lightly sand in between each coat. That's just how I do my surfaces. I got in the habit of between coat sanding when I help my husband with furniture, because when we put the finishes on them, we have to sand between each coat of finish to make the furniture look its best. So I just continue that process with my painting when I'm painting on nice wood surfaces. So I'm going to go off camera and get this completely coated with 2 coats of paint, sanding in between the first and second coat of paint. When you get your final coat on here, if it still feels like it might have some rough places where some grain has raised, then you can lightly sand it again. Remove your sanding dust after you sand. It's very important to put the multi-purpose sealer on before you paint, because this seals the wood. The wood is raw, it's open, it's porous. Anything that has any kind of moisture whatsoever will just soak down into that wood. It will cause the grain to raise, and you want your paint to adhere to the surface, not soak down into it. So using the multi-purpose sealer before you start painting is a very vital step for painting on wood. You just really need to get into the habit of doing that, because it makes a huge difference. You won't go through so much paint trying to cover the surface, because the paint just keeps soaking down into the wood, and you can't get any paint to really like be on the wood until it gets through all those layers that it has to go through. So very, very important to seal your wood first. Alright, I'm going to go get all my coats on, and we're going to come back. Alright, I've got my 2 coats on here, and I did go ahead and decide to paint the inside instead of putting paper on it. I just want to put paper in the bottom of this. So it's just sealed with our multi-purpose sealer, and I just brought the white paint in just a little bit on the edge in case I cut my paper short. Now, after you paint it, you want to take a toothpick and poke in your holes. Do not break your toothpick off in there. And just make sure you know where your holes are, where your screws go. So when you go to attach your hardware back on, you can find those holes very easily. Got some over here. And then these are good to go. So those holes are good. Now when we get ready to put our paper in, we'll need our toothpick to also poke our holes where our hooks go in here. Now I think I mentioned a while ago that this box is originally a key box, but I'm making it a jewelry box for a little girl, so you can make it a key box or a jewelry box, whatever pleases you. So we're going to get ready to start on the center of this top piece, so I'm going to move the box aside, and we'll get to putting the paper on that later. So right now we want to work on getting the inside of this painted. And I needed to mention that when you paint your outside of your box, just use an old 1-inch brush to paint on your to put your base coating on. No sense in using your good brushes. When you base coat, it can be kind of hard on your brushes, depending on the type of surface that you're base coating on. So you want to, you know, use an older brush if you can. Okay, so I'm going to dampen this in here, and I have a feeling this is going to dry very quickly for me because I have my ceiling fan on and my oscillating fan on behind me. I might have to turn one of them off. So I've got on my palette Aqua Sky and Teal Mint. I'm going to keep this teal mint more at the bottom of this. We're making an ocean scene here, well, an ocean type background. So I've dampened this because I don't want my water to get my paint to get very dark. I want it to stay pretty light. I'm going to try and stay off of my edges of my box because I don't really want to paint those edges. I'm going to get some more water on my brush here. And apply some more here. And wipe my brush off. I'm going to go into the other blue, which is Aqua Sky. And my water up here is already dried, so let me pick up a little bit of water. And we're just going to work that down. This is a little more green down here, and I'm going to want to darken that because I'm going to want that much darker. So I'm going to let this first coat dry, I think. And then come back and add a little bit more down in here. I think I want to add a little bit more of another color in here, but for now, I'm just going to go with these two. Streak it up there. Alright, I'm going to try and put a little bit of this Aqua Sky up here real quick while this is still pretty wet. I want that to be darker, much darker. You can also do this with extender or with glazing medium, you know, if you want a little bit more working time with your paint. Those two colors are not translating very well as two separate colors, so I think what I'm going to do, not get it up there, is change one of these colors out to a different color. So let me grab a different color. Okay, I'm changing this color out to turquoise blue down here at the bottom. And I think I want to put just a little bit of white in here. Cool white. Wipe my brush off. Just want to kind of blend these. I really want to stay off of my edge. I have a feeling I'm going to end up painting that edge a different color because I keep getting paint up there. Okay, so while this is wet, oh, I'm going to take a sponge. Now this is just a foam sponge, and I'm going to remove some of this paint with a damp sponge. I want to get a little bit of, let me zoom in a little bit of kind of watery texture in there. So this damp sponge will just remove some of that paint. Okay, I think we're going to let this dry, and we're going to come back and add some more color in there. Okay, I decided before it dried real quickly, I'm going to tap some extender on here. And you can kind of see the effect that that extender is having. It's going to make it look a little bit more like water. Like that. And while I've got this damp brush, I'm going to go ahead and tap a little bit of this turquoise blue on here. Probably have to touch up my edges. Of course, I haven't really decided. I may want to paint the border of this, but I'm kind of thinking I want to leave this light color so it stays more like the ocean. So I probably will have to come back with my, I could have taped it off with some Scotch tape, but I didn't think about that. Come back with my base coat color and repaint that when I am done, because I think I just might make a mess all over it. So we've got kind of a fun background going there. That's looking really good. Let me wide angle out here. So you can kind of see the lights and darks going on in there. You can see that the blue down here is a completely different color of blue than this one up here. So, and that's what I wanted. So I think we're going to let that dry completely and get our pattern on here. Okay, while my top is drying, I'm going to go ahead and put my decoupage, my paper in here. Now you can use any kind of paper, or you can just paint the inside, whatever kind of paper that you like. I have had scrapbooking papers for years. I have no idea when or where I bought any of my paper. This particular kind is Breaking Free, my mind's eye. I don't really know where this came from. More than likely it came from Hobby Lobby, because that's generally where I buy my paper. This is probably a pretty current paper, I don't know. But you can use any kind of paper in here. So don't feel like you have to get the exact same paper that I use. Be creative and choose the paper that you would like to have in there. I was looking for something a little more ocean colors, and I didn't have anything on hand, so I'm going with this one. Now I'm going to be using decoupage for paper. Probably should have showed you what it was before I took the lid off of it, huh? Decoupage for paper. So I'm going to brush a coat of it in here. I kind of dry fitted my paper and made some indents where the boards are in here. So I'm going to get some generous decoupage in here. And I'm only going to go to about right there, because if I have to move my paper, I don't want a ton of decoupage in there. And I didn't cut it perfect. I just measured it with my tape measure and then cut it. I got it a little bit short on the edges, but that's okay. This is just a decorative piece in here, so okay, I'm going to hold that there and apply some more decoupage in here. Ooh, or a lot of decoupage. That was quite a bit there. So you want to give it a nice, you want to be generous here. You don't want to have any dry places where the paper won't stick. So just be good and generous. And I hope I'm keeping my head out of camera shot here. You can use the regular decoupage if you do not have the kind for paper. This is the one that I grabbed. I have most of the decoupage medium, so I'm going to form that around that board right there. Kind of push it against it, and then start pushing it down. Smoothing it as I go. I don't want any wrinkles or bubbles or anything like that, but I want a tight fit. So even after I got it all in there, it's a little short too, but okay, that's not good. Do not do what I just did right there. Although it won't hurt the finish because you can use the decoupage as a sealer as well. Let me clean that up so I'm not running my surface through it again. Oh, I took it everywhere, didn't I? Oop, must have had some paint in my brush because I just got some blue on my back, so I have to touch that up with my base coat. I'm just showing you how to make a terrible mess here. Alright, I'm going to push this down in here as best I can, and then I'm going to get a nice, well, this is not the brush I want to use, it's probably because it has blue paint in it. Nice coat of decoupage on top of this. Got me some bubbles here. Push those out with my finger. That one does not want to come out of there. Poke a hole in the paper right there because that little bubble right there does not want to come out. So we're going to put a nice coat of decoupage on here, and we are going to push it down with our fingers and try and get all of our air bubbles out. I didn't get mine laid flat very good at all, so I've got lots of air bubbles. So I'm just going to rub them out. Most of them should just push right out. Shouldn't have any issues with them, except I'm having an issue with that one. And be careful when you're doing this because your paper can tear on you. Get it all smoothed out on the edges. This will help seal it good. Then I'm just going to take my brush. Boy, I got all kinds of wrinkles in there. I promise you I can do this without wrinkles. I just not sure. Maybe because I should put it on raw wood and I generally put it on painted stuff. And so the raw wood might be soaking up some of that. It's not going to hurt to put it on the sides because it's a sealer as well, so, or a varnish, so it's not as tight against that piece of wood right there as I would like. So let me push it down. A little bit of pressure. That one's good and pushed down. More. Okay, we're going to let that dry completely. See, I got those wrinkles in there. I just can't push them out quite all the way. But it will still be fine. Once it's dried, you won't even notice those. Notice them now because they've got a lot of stuff kind of built up around them. Anyway, I think that paper is going to go nice in here. And so, again, with your toothpick, you can feel your holes, and you can, it's kind of tacky now, I have to let it dry, but you can fill your holes, and you can go ahead and poke all your holes in for where your hooks are going to go. Okay? Alright, let's move on to the next thing. Okay, I'm putting a mermaid on here. It's a completely different design for me. But I drew, back in January, I drew several of these mermaids out and in my sketchbook. And they're all different. And this is what the body of the mermaid is based off of this one. And the this one is holding a pearl, so I'm giving her a little pearl to hold since I'm making a jewelry box, because this one was holding paintbrushes and wearing a painter's cap. And then this one, I plan to do this one with the 4th of July theme. Have not got it done. I even named all of my mermaids. So, it's the first time doing sketches like that, and I had a lot of fun drawing them. So I wanted to paint one for you. So I took one of the sketches and changed it up because none of mine had their hair pulled over to the side with a braid coming down. But I wanted this one to have a braid. So I made that change to it. So I'm getting ready to transfer on my design, and I want to get it fairly straight on here. This is just drawn out with pencil because as I was looking at those, I decided to make some changes as I was getting ready to put it on here. So I just drew out a new one with the changes that I wanted. So you're just going to put your gray graphite paper underneath, and we don't want to transfer on all of the details right now. We do want to transfer all of the basic lines. So we can leave the necklace off, we can leave all of the facial features off for now. Okay, we can leave the pearl out of her hand for now, and we can leave off her hair, her braid coming around like this, because we'll paint all of this in first, and then we'll come in and add her hair. So you're just gonna draw in the shape of like where her hair is. You're gonna draw in the shape of her face, her neck. You're gonna get her shoulders and her arms in. A little ruffle on her waistline, and you're going to get, whoops, you're going to get her, all of her in here. Let me move this over so I can get this other fin. You don't have to put these fins in too dark because we're going to, and I got mine in way dark, we're going to be, I'm just going to lay my pattern over like this so that when I am ready to transfer the rest on, I can just transfer it on like that. We're going to be painting these in kind of soft and washy. So I'm going to go ahead and erase these back to where I can just see them. The shape of where they need to be. I don't want any dark lines here with my fins here. And then get your eraser stuff off and out and away from your paint. You do not want to get that in your paint. Okay, so we're going to get ready to start on her. Okay, before I go on, I've decided I wanted a little bit of green down here in the bottom, so I'm just kind of washing in a little bit of the chartreuse yellow. It's very lightly taking the water. I got just a little bit on this side of my brush and plenty of water so I can move it around. Soften it down in there. Because I want to put a little bit of this color in her fin part. Not really sure what to call that on a mermaid. This part down here, the tail part. Okay. Okay, before I go on adding base coats on here, I decided I wanted to put some little translucent type bubbles back in the background. And I am using pearlizing medium. We'll be using this later as well, but I thought this would make some really nice little bubbles on here. I'm using a fingertip dauber and a circle stencil. Now the fingertip dauber and the circle stencils are available on my website. This has many different sizes of circles on it. So I'm just going to kind of pick and choose a little bit smaller circle here. It's about the same size, I think. Okay. So I'm just gonna like make a little trail of. Now when you load your fingertip dauber, I just dip it in there and then I just tap it onto my palette to kind of work it into the end of the dauber. A few down here. Kind of see the shimmer of the bubbles there. So, and the reason I want to put these on first is because if I put one close to where I'm painting, I want to be able to just paint right over it. And this pearlizing medium will just help them to be a little more subtle in the background. So there you kind of get a reflection of them right there. Put a couple more down here, I think. Where's that other small one? Another one down here. It's just kind of a random thing. Don't get caught up on doing too many. Put a couple on this side, I think. Okay, one more down here, so this one's not all alone by itself. Okay, I think that gives us a nice little good selection of bubbles, and we can always come in and add some more later. Plus, we can always come back in and tint those bubbles. So, I'm going to let them dry really good, and then I think I might come back and tint a few of them. Now, your fingertip dauber just cleans up very nicely with some hand sanitizer. You can do that right on your palette. Just squirt some out there. You can also clean your stencil with the hand sanitizer. Dip it in there. Just kind of work it out. Push all that paint out of it. I'm going to wipe it off on a paper towel. I'm going to dip it in my water and see if it's all removed. Apparently I'd used this one with some glitter at one time. No, that's from the pearlizing medium. It's got that glittery stuff in it. I'm going to make sure it's all out. That next time I use it, especially since it's got that little bit of glitter in there, I don't want it transferring to another design. Okay, so I've got it all cleaned up. It was very quick and easy to clean. And your stencil, you want to take a very soft toothbrush. I'll show you how to do this as well. I usually do this at the sink, but I'll show you how to do it here. Put a little bit of sanitizer on your toothbrush and then just gently rub. Gently rub the paint off. And then you can take, I usually run it under water to rinse it, but since I'm doing it here, I'll just wipe off the water, and I've got a clean stencil. Okay, so that's how you clean your stencils. You want to clean them fairly well. Now I say this, you want to clean them fairly quickly after you use them, but to be honest with you, I had some stencils, and I tested this. Some stencils that had paint on them, I don't know, paint was probably on there for 3 or 4 years, who knows how long. And I decided to see if the hand sanitizer would take it off, being that it had been stuck to that stencil for so long, and it did. You know, I had to let the hand sanitizer soak on there a little bit, but it took it right off. So don't worry if you forget about your stencil and leave it, you know, with the paint on it. Now, my stencils are clear. I purposely made my stencils clear so that I could, when I lay it down, I can see through it. I know a lot of other stencils are a little bit more opaque white. You can still see through it, but you can't see through it like you can these stencils. And I liked that I could see right through my stencil to wherever I was putting it, so if I wanted to layer something, that was not going to be a problem. So anyway, if you're looking for a circle stencil, my website. Alright, let's get on to base coating here. Okay, on her fin here, I'm not really sure what to call this, so I'm calling it the mermaid tail and body, because this is the torso. We want to build up with some very transparent colors here. So I was originally going to use like antique green, because I thought that would make a very beautiful undercoat, or you know, a beginning to the mermaid. But I've decided I'm going to use these metallic lusters. So I've taken just a little bit out on my palette, and I'm watering it down with some water. You can see how iridescent that is, and we want that kind of iridescence in here. So we're just going to start applying some layers in here. I'm going to let each layer dry. I think I'm going to try letting each layer dry and come back and add the next layer. Because we've got to get that blue in the background kind of covered up, but we don't want it So I'm starting with the color that I'm starting with is Lavish Green. I love these metallic lusters. They are just beautiful. I'm getting a little bit more of the metallic luster and a little less water now. Trying to get a more good base here. The body up here and the face and everything, I've just based in with a couple of coats of natural buff. Okay, I'm going to take and thin a little bit of this down. And we're going to put, I want it to be a little thinner, some sheer of this down here on the fin. We don't want our fin getting too dark. I want to keep it a little more on the sheer side. So I'm going to start off with some very, very light colors here. Okay, I want to get that metallic dry, so I'm going to let it dry. We're going to add some other metallic colors on here, and they'll all be done kind of the same way. You'll put a little on your palette, add a little bit of water to them, get them a nice kind of painting consistency, but not too dark. The top of the her outfit. I'm trying to think what to call it. I haven't really decided what color I want to use on that. Get a small round brush here. Okay, let me zoom in just a little bit. I think I've decided I'm going to erase those lines back just a little bit. I'm going to continue to use the metallic lusters here. And I'm going to go with Majestic Purple for the top. So I haven't thinned this down near as much. It's a little bit more opaque than the green. I really watered it down, and this one I've just got just a little bit of water in it. And so we're going to paint her top in here. With this Majestic Purple. This stuff paints so wonderfully. Okay, so we're going to let this dry. This part down here is dry, so we're going to go on to our next color. I think our next color will be Brilliant Turquoise. So just take a little bit out. You don't need very much at all. Even that's probably way more than I need. Get my flat brush back out. I'm going to thin this down like I did with the green with some water. Blue in there, and then I'm just going to kind of lay some of that in. That's way too much, so I'm going to go wipe it off and maybe pick up a little bit of that green and try and blend those together. Pick up a little bit more green. And I'm just kind of going back and forth with these colors. This blue. Wipe my brush off and go get some green. And then just gently, kind of in a pity-pat kind of movement, we're going to blend those. And I think while we got it and it's still wet, we'll go ahead and add another color in here. And we'll add a little bit of that purple in here. We've already got it on our palette. Pick up a little bit of that, or a lot of that, thin it down here. I wiped it off and got a little bit of water, so now I'm going to just add some purple in here, and then take the water. I've only got purple on one edge of my brush, and then I'm going to take the water edge and kind of soften it and blend it, smooth it out. I like kind of that choppy motion there. Okay, I'm going to wipe that off and go get a little bit of green. Kind of blend that. Don't want it to get muddy, so if it's getting muddy, then get out of it and let it dry, and you can come back and add another layer. So that is looking very iridescent. Is what we want. We want those variations of colors in there. This metallic luster is so easy to work with. It's easy to blend. It's just a fun product. I want a little bit more blue in here. If you've picked some up on your paintbrush and it won't kind of move where you need it to move, then just go get a little bit of water on your brush. And that will kind of work it in, and that will take care of your brush. Okay, so I want to put a little bit of this in the fin. I don't want this to get very dark at all. It's blue. We'll put it about halfway up in the fin. We put the green all over, and so we'll do the blue about halfway. Kind of blend it out. And then I'm going to let that dry, and we're going to come back and put some purple in there at the very base. I'm going to make sure this has a nice good coat, so I'm going to add a little bit more on here. We've got another metallic color. This one is Gold Rush, but I'm thinking I might want to get the champagne color. Okay, that feels pretty dry on the fin, so let me get a little bit of purple. I'm just going to get a little tiny bit on my brush. I've got water on my brush, so I'm keeping that soft. Maybe just a touch more. Just Do a little more. Kind of put that, kind of define those fins a little bit. I want to go down the other side with it as well. Can't tell which side has the water. There we go. I just wanted to define the fins a little bit more, but keeping them transparent and hopefully keeping you on camera. I think I want to add a little bit more green in there. Kind of at the tips. Walk it in there a little bit. I'm just using the very softest pressure there, not getting too carried away here. Keeping this soft and light. And you can play around with this stuff and create, you know, so much. I just really love these metallic lusters. It's got to be my all-time favorite product. I'm gonna tap that in there. I'm using my mop brush, so what I'm doing now is I'm laying some turquoise in there in the center, and then I'm using my mop brush to kind of tap that, kind of soften it a little bit. Maybe just a touch more over here. And you want to tap it with the mop brush while it's wet, because that's starting to dry on the edge there. So I'm just going to add a little bit of water and then come back and tap it with my mop brush. Okay, that looks really good. I want to add some of that purple though. Get a little bit more out. I want to add a little bit of that purple. Now you can use these metallic lusters, you can use just straight out of the container. You don't have to add water to them. You can, with stenciling and textured backgrounds, you can just put some on your finger and rub it in places, and oh, it's just a wonderful product. I really hope those of you that are watching this will invest in some of those, because they're so much fun, and I like sparkle and bling on my stuff anyway. So I've got some more purple. I want to pull this down in here. Make it look a little more connected here. And then I'm going to darken up down here. I usually have my project on my easel, and I will put it on my easel when we get up to do the more detailed stuff. But for this, I'm going to have it in my hand so I can turn it and manipulate it a little bit. Okay, I like that purple up that side, but I want it to be much wider. So I am going to put more on my brush and get it over a little bit farther. More water. Usually I have water on my palette, and I don't have any on here. I need to take the time to do that. Spray some water drops on there. Okay, I'm going to mop that. Kind of soften it. A little crooked edge here. I don't like it. So I'm going to take on the other side, I want to bring the green in a little bit more. And you can create yours. I'm trying to use up this here, so I'm going to have to get some more out. However you like it. If you've got metallic paints, you can probably get a very similar effect with metallic paints. A little bit more of this green on the tail. Just on the tip there. Okay, now we're going to let her, all this area dry, because I want to come back. I got Silver Spark and Champagne Ice. But because this is, I was originally going to do Champagne Ice, but because this is in the blues more, I think we're going to go with Silver when we add some detail on there. Okay. For the ruffly part here, I want to keep that more of the kind of transparent. So I'm going to use my pearlizing medium. I'm going to erase back my graphite lines here. I don't want them really dark. Get your eraser dust off of there. You don't want it mixing with your paint. Okay, I'm going to take a flat brush here. This whole time I've just been using a 10 flat. And I'm going to side load it with this pearlizing medium. And I want to keep the paint edge close to the body. And this may not be dark enough. I might have to come back and add some white paint in here. Because I don't think the pearlizing is going to give me dark enough. Got some purple on my brush here. Dark enough ruffles. Although they're very shiny right there, I think I'll probably have to add that pearlizing medium at the end. So I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to do those with some white. Okay, we're going to add some of these little like C strokes on here. I still got a number 10 flat. I could probably go down to a much smaller flat here. Or an angle brush if you feel more comfortable using an angle brush. I think I'm going to go down to an 8 flat. So I'm just going to side load the metallic luster Silver Spark is what I'm using. And then we're just going to go in here on the body. I'm going to try and get this where you can see it and make these little, my brush is too dry here, put more water, make these little C strokes. Randomly. Need to get a little bit of water on my palette. So it's kind of best if you start down here at the bottom. And just make a little C. Kind of offset them. You don't want them completely in a row. Some will be brighter than others. Ooh, man, got a lot of paint there. Just a touch too much paint there. So you can kind of see where I'm kind of creating the little fin things there, or scales, I guess they're technically called. So it's just loaded onto one corner, and you're just making like a C stroke randomly all the way up. Okay, so when I put it at that angle, you can really see it. How fun is that? So cool, so cool. All right, I'm gonna get a liner brush, and we're going to thin down some of that silver. In our tails, I'm going to add some I'm sorry, this is a little bit more, this paint is a little bit more difficult to get to show up on the camera. Silver does not seem to want to cooperate here. So I'll just put a few little strokes in the tail there, like that. That is looking very fun, fun, fun. Let me get some cool white out here. And I'm going to try and do this ruffle thing. Probably should have done it before I painted in the hand and the arms, but I can always come back and... Now I want to move, I'm just side loading, and I want to move the brush. I'm trying to get you on camera for this here. I want to move the brush just back and forth like this. And it's okay if it goes up on the arms there, since I've already painted them. I will come back and paint over my arms. So we've got that. We want to get that dry. And now I'm going to take the pearlizing medium. Try that again. So I'll just put it out here on the edges, kind of where I drew my lines. need to shade underneath that. And let's see. I don't know if I want to use turquoise blue or antique green. Dilemma. Going with antique green here. That looks pretty good. Now I'll go in and touch up my arms. We can get ready to work on the face. So after you get all of these details done with her body and her tail, you can go ahead and transfer on your detail lines for the face. And we'll work on that next. I'll get it up on my easel for that, so that I'm not constantly getting you off of camera. Wide angle out here. Ooh, that's looking very pretty, very pretty. I'm liking it. Okay, let's get our facial feature transferred on. Okay, we're going to shade on the body now, and we're going to use warm beige. It used to be called flesh tone, but the new color name is now warm beige. We're going to side load a small curved flat or a small angle brush or a small flat. Whatever you feel comfortable using is the brush that I always recommend that you use. So we're going to go under her chin. We're going to go above her arms. Use a small amount of paint for this kind of project. So far we haven't used a whole lot. I'm going to go under this area. Down the edge where her nose is. I'm going to go down that line. I'm going to try and stay off of that line because I want to erase it and not have it set into my project. So I'm going to go around the nose line. I painted the eyes in with cool white. So I'm going to see if I can erase the lines around the eyes here. We'll go underneath the eyes. Not too much. We don't want her to look like she's got bags under her eyes. I'm going to go down her sides. Go on the insides of her arms here. some like collarbone things up here. We'll put a little bit here. And of course we want to go along the forehead. A lot of this will probably be covered up with hair. I'll put a little bit under her lips. Again, trying to stay off of the pencil lines. A little bit more around her nose, I think. Not too wide. Put that a little bit wide. Let me remove some. I think I will do on her hands. Come back and repeat anything that we feel needs to be repeated. I'm going to add a little belly button in here in a second. I'm going to erase the nose lines and see if I got my nose painted in there okay. Okay, for the belly button, we're just going to take a liner brush and dot some of that right there. Very easy belly button. I'm going to put another coat on her eyes with the cool white. Okay, I want to paint her eyes in. I'm going to take my turquoise blue and a little bit of cool white and make a very pretty blue here. See, my paint's drying up. So just make a blue that you feel is very, very pretty blue. Okay, then we're going to paint her eyes in with this color. So draw your circles in if you need to. I painted her lips in with shading flesh, but really you can use any color that you like for a lip color. Just want to make sure that you get them about the same size. Quick second coat as soon as they're dry. Okay, I'm going to add a quick second coat on my lips here. Add a little bit of color on her cheeks. I'm going to use that shading flesh to do that. And I think I'm going to get if you've got a small little scruffy brush, that would be a good choice. Some kind of little domed scruffy brush. This one's probably way too big and way too stiff. Let me get this one. Any kind of brush will do. This is a low Cornell. This is a fabric brush. Okay, it's a size 4. So I'm going to use it dry, dip into my shading flesh. Got it on my brush. I'm going to go to a dry paper towel and remove as much as I can. There's still paint on the brush. And we'll go in here. Not enough paint on the brush, so I'm going to go right here where I removed it and pick up some. I still think this brush is a little bit too big to get the job done here. So I'm just going to tap in her cheeks. I think it's probably pretty good. And if you painted your lips a different color, then you can use that particular color to apply your cheek blush with. So whatever color you use, if you do not use the shading flesh like I used here, then you can use whatever you choose to use. Okay, for the star here, now we used a little bit of that chartreuse yellow in the background, and I want to put some of that on my star, but it's going to be probably too transparent, I bet, for my star. So I'm going to take my chartreuse and mix a little bit of antique green with it. Get a little bit of greeny yellow color there. And I'm going to paint this star in. Maybe just a touch more chartreuse. I should have erased my pencil mark back a little bit there, because it's blending with my paint, making my paint darker. So I'll pick up a little bit. I picked up a little bit more chartreuse and put it on there. And I'm going to take the antique green. I'm using my liner brush, 10-0 liner. I'm going to pick up the antique green and make the connection here. I come back and brighten up that star on her neck a little bit. I really need it to be more yellow, so probably just straight chartreuse. Chartreuse green would be good. Erase any graphite lines that you can as you go. Alright, let's get some black. And we're going to do the center of her eye with black. Paint all over my hands. Alright, get yourself a small round brush to do this. If we need to draw a circle in, then go ahead and do that. So we're going to make the pupil of her eye now. A little bit too much paint on my brush there. Water off of my ferrule. Try and keep you on camera as I do this. So we're just going to paint a pupil in the eye. I should probably have on my stronger glasses to do this. think I'll have to darken up my blue just a touch. So I'm going to take my turquoise and my white mix and just mix a little bit more. It's okay if it's not exact. And I'm going to darken up. Around the eye there a little bit. I want our eyes to look blue, not black. So hopefully that looks like a blue eye. Okay, we're going to take our liner brush. Now this is the scary part. If you don't feel comfortable using a liner brush, then get a micron pen. Make sure your eyes are dry. I'm not sure what size. Get the smallest size you can. I'd say an 01 probably, or an 02. Get a very small tipped micron pen because they're waterproof, and outline your eyes and add your eyelashes. So I want to outline. I've got something on the tip of my brush. So let me try that again. Use whatever kind of little liner brush that you like to use. I like the 10-0 liners. Goodness. I got something on the end of my liner again. Excuse my arm there. Try this again. Now you can make some eyelashes by pulling your liner up from that top line. You need to have your paint inky consistency so it will come right off of the tip of your brush, so you don't have to push real hard with your brush. Okay, now bottom eyelashes are up to you. I like to have some, just a few, at the outer edge back here. Okay, so that's totally up to you. I want to do her eyebrow with a different color because her hair is going to be red. But now I want to add a highlight on the eye with some cool white. I need to let that highlight dry. And we can go ahead and add her eyebrow with some burnt sienna. Probably mix a little bit of black in with the burnt sienna so it's not quite so bright. Give her a little more of a brown eyebrow. So just a tiny little bit of black in there. If it's too dark, just keep adding your burnt sienna until it gets a nice color that you like. Okay, those eyebrows are not even close to being even. Oh my gosh. Okay, this one's probably too high. So, this is how you fix that. I'll show you how you fix that. You take a little bit of water and your white eraser. And you remove that. Probably should have drawn them in, then I could have gotten them in the right size. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, my liner brush is doing weird things. I might have to get a new brush. It's really bent at the tip. Well, that's a little bit better. Not a lot better, but a little bit better. I'm going to leave it there because if I don't, I'm going to mess it up. So if you don't have one of these erasers, I sell them on my website. I think Patricia Rawlinson also sells them. They are, to me, a must-have in your paint stash, because when you're painting and you make a mistake, you can take this and just get the mistake off. As long as your paint hasn't cured. If your paint is cured, you're just going to have to base coat over it. Okay, so now I'm going to take my little curved flat. You can use an angle brush. I'm getting a teeny tiny little bit of lamp black, and I'm going to work that into my brush. Nice soft little layer of paint here. We're going to go up under the eye, under the eyelid, and paint some of this in there. This will push the eye back under the eyelid more. So it really makes her eyes look like they're set in there. Okay, I'm going to get a little bit of our shading color. I want to put a little bit underneath her eyes. Okay, I want to add a little highlight on her lips. So I'm going to do that with our natural buff. And I'm going to put back-to-back float, kind of, down the center of her lips. Give her lips a little bit of shine. And then we can separate her lips with a little bit of the lip color and a tiny little bit of black mixed in with it. Or you can go into that orange raw sienna. Raw sienna would probably be good. there. We don't want it in our highlight. So you can do this before you add your highlight if you like. So that's how we separate our lips. Okay, let me draw a circle down here for her pearl. Let's see if I can do it with my dressmaker's pencil here. Just draw a circle. Hopefully you can see that. And then paint that circle in with your cool white, and we're going to come back and add some pearl on there in a little bit. Probably some touches of turquoise as well, or some purple. And we'll take a couple of coats on here. Get that dry, and we're going to finish up the pearl, and then we've got her hair to do. She's a quick little project. Okay, I've got some lamp black. I'm going to see if I can create a little bit of definition here without it overpowering. I'm going to do it on the lower part of the bodice and up the center. This is showing up on the camera because that purple is very dark and that black is kind of dark too. So I think we're going to highlight on the top some cool white. Just create a little bit of a highlight on here. I don't really like that, so I'm going to remove that. I'll just do the shading with the black. I'm not going to worry too much about a highlight color on that. Okay, we want to move on to the pearl here. Now I want to put some washes of turquoise on here. So I'm just going to get a little bit on a very damp brush and put some on here. Kind of move it around with the damp brush. We could put some of that purple on there. So mine's all dried out. I'm just going to go right in here and get just a tiny little bit, teeny tiny little bit. And put just a little bit on there. We want to keep it white, but we want it to have a little bit of the pearl essence. So now we're going to take our pearlizing medium and we're going to put that over the whole thing. Create a pearl there. Don't want it to get past the pearl. Just taking a damp brush, cleaning that off out here. Okay, that looks better. I'm going to take my shading color for my, goodness, I keep getting it on the wrong side of my brush here. And I'm going to put some of this on the hands here. A little bit more where they come together. Shadow around the pearl itself. And a little bit of turquoise blue at the base of it. Okay, I'm going to go with a little bit more pearlizing medium. Pretty good on the pearl. We can see it. Needs a little bit more pearlizing medium on it, I think, because I really want it to shine like this. So I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to put another coat on it. But that is just so pretty. Just love it. Wide angle out just a little bit. That is really pretty. I'm loving the whole thing, how it's turning out. Okay, so now we're going to work on the hair. Okay, I want our star to shine a little bit brighter, so I'm going to put a little bit of that pearlizing medium on the star as well. There we go. Look at all that shimmer and shine. Whew, loving, loving, loving it. Okay, we're going to start on her hair, and we're going to base it in. I'm just using a round brush with burnt sienna. Around behind over here. She's going to have a braid. This is just the undercoat. We're going to come in and add some details in here. So just use whatever brush you're comfortable using right here. It's going to go down behind her arm here. And then we'll have the end of her braid here. Okay, so that's just our undercoat here. And that's burnt sienna. Okay, so now we're going to come in and add more detail to her hair here. First, let me fix this here. That needs to be just a touch fatter here. Okay. Alright, let's get our next color. Okay, I added a few little stray pieces on here. You may need to apply a second coat on here to get a little bit, cover up that blue in the background a little bit more. Okay, now our next layer on here is going to be burnt orange. And before I do my next layer on here, I think I want to add some more defined pieces of hair. So like, that could be that piece coming up here, and this one comes down here obviously. And we can so we're going to kind of be creating our hairs with just strokes. So we're going to take our round brush, thin your paint down, inky consistency, make sure there is no water on your ferrule, but you don't want that running down. And we're going to start creating some hairs in here. And we can bring some of these out. So I'm going to make it a little bit fatter. Some of these hairs up in here. That's just a flick of your brush there to create those hairs that are coming down. A couple around her face here. Oops, you'd probably like to be on camera, wouldn't you? Nah, I don't like that one. So I'm going to remove that one. Damp brush. The paint was not dry, so we can take that right off. I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to let that dry a little bit. This color's not quite as noticeable, but that's okay. Okay, now we're going to go, our next color is going to be persimmon. And I think with this color I'm going to go to my liner brush, my 10-0 liner. Wide angle out a little bit so I can keep you on camera shot here. And then with this color, we're going to create some highlights in her hair. Make it a little more messy and looser up here. And you can just kind of play around with her hair and have fun with it. A little bit more up here. You could give her bangs if you wanted bangs. Okay, I'm going to get this dry so I can erase my graphite lines in there. I'm going to come back and do a little bit of shading on here. Okay, I want to add a few more just little brighter hairs in here. So I'm going to take that spiced pumpkin and add a tiny little bit of cool white to it. And add some brighter hairs in here. I can get my paint to thin down here. This will give us our brightest little highlights on our hair. And that definitely helps define our hair a lot better. And then we can come in and do a little bit of shading. So we're going to take our burnt sienna, add a tiny little bit of black, just brush mix it. So I'm just blending a tiny little bit of black in with my burnt sienna. And burnt sienna is starting to dry up here. Okay, so it's just like a dirty, just dirtying up that color. And now we want to come in here and kind of define our, that's a tad too much paint. So I'll wipe it off, get a little bit of water and blend it on my brush. Just creating the little sections. For her hair, and then I'm going to shade a little bit back here. Mix me up a little bit more. I'll shade a little bit. Right back here next to her neck here. And just a touch by her cheeks here. And then up here where her part would be, a little bit there. Just want to make kind of a jagged line. I don't want it to be perfectly straight there. Okay, I think I'm going to repeat on a couple of these. Not quite that much. Put some touches of this in there. Okay, I think that fixes her hair nicely. I think she is just looking cute as can be. A wide angle out so you can see the whole lid. I think I want to put some more bubbles in here. I'm trying to decide if I want to put some words across here or not, but for now I'm going to do some more bubbles. So let me get my pearlizing medium and my little fingertip dauber, and I'll add a few more. Just a few more circles on here, not too many. Definitely need some down here, so I'll put a bigger one down here maybe. Kind of hard to get it flat on this lid, so I'm just going to do the best I can here for a bubble. Do a few more up here. I think this was my practice stencil because some of my circles are not perfect here. I know on the one that will be cut, they will be. Alright, need a few over here. Got some empty space here. Got some circles in there. How fun is this project? I mean, if you've got little girls in your family, they are just going to love this, especially if they like anything to do with princesses. So it is going to be fun times. Oh, this is turning out so cute. Okay, those bubbles. Got a lot of bubbles on there now. So cute. Okay, I've started my lettering. And I'm I'm painting it in with Aqua Sky. I could have, too much water there. I could have erased the graphite lines back a little bit. Now when you come to a fatter part, lay your brush down, give it pressure, release pressure, come up on the tip to get a fine point. This is all about pressure and release. Now if you've got a child's name that you want to put on yours, or some other kind of saying, you can do that. Just think about the letters as another line. Don't think about it as the letter in the hole. I think that will help you create good lettering. That one's kind of hard for me to see because it's on that. Up there. Okay, there is Princess, and I really hope you are on camera for that. We're going to outline this. I'm thinking maybe I want to do it with white. I'm not sure yet. This is where your paint needs to be thinner, but it doesn't have to be inky consistency. Pretty close to inky consistency, I'd say. And I'm using a round brush, a number 1 round. You want a brush that has good bounce back, so that when you're doing these fatter areas and then you need to come back up to the very tip, you've got a good bounce back on your brush. And any graphite lines that I can still see, I'm going to come in and try and erase them, but if I've gotten any paint on them whatsoever, they will not come off. They are going to be set in my project. So it's always a good idea, if you're using a dark graphite, to go in and erase back your lines so that they don't show through your paint, or you'll just have to be happy with it if you can't get it out, because it doesn't come out. Even if you've washed over it with some water, dirty water has paint in it, so it will still set those graphite lines. Tippy tippy toe. Some water in my brush. Paint's drying out. The paint in my brush was drying out. Okay, so there's Princess Dreams, and my dreams doesn't look like it's quite straight. Something about it doesn't. Maybe it's because of that circle that's on there. Okay, so I want to get this dry and go in and erase my graphite lines. With this color, this Aqua Sky, it's a new color from Decoupage. 1 coat should be all you need when you're doing your lettering. So I'm going to see if I can get my graphite lines erased, and then we're going to do a drop shadow next to this. Okay, let's do a drop shadow on the left side, or the right side, whichever side you prefer to do it on. I'm going to do it with cool white. I think I should have done, not really sure how that one should have went. Can't talk. Never done a letter quite like that one before. So you're basically just out, excuse me, outlining the left, can't talk, the left sides of your letters. Step on the tippy toe. If you need to thin your cool white down, you need to do it with clean water. And I probably will have to come back and repeat this because it already looks like it's fading down in there. Yep, pretty faded down in there. I could go with a darker color to outline it, but I think it will take away from our focal point, which is our princess over there, our mermaid princess. Okay, tip, tip, tip. Definitely a second coat here. Okay, yep, can't see that very good, so I will definitely repeat that and brighten that white up. So I'll go off camera and do that so we're not taking so much camera time here. Okay, I think we're about ready to put this back together. I haven't decided yet either. I think I might want to put the pearlizing medium around the frame. Just because this is for a little girl, and I think that she would just love all that sparkle, you know, fluorescent, iridescent stuff that's going on in it. So I think I will do that as well. Brush a, well, I'll just do it real quick while my lettering finishes drying. Just going to grab a flat brush and put a coat. I'm just going to put it on the top. I'm not going to go on the sides or inside or anything. So I just want this on the very top right here. So whatever piece you're doing, whatever piece you're painting on, if it's got an edge, you can do that. If not, you can take your compass and create an edge and then paint that with this pearlizing medium, which is quickly becoming one of my new favorite products. I've had this pearlizing medium for a long time, and I think I've only used it once before, but it's very iridescent. It's a lot like these metallics. But you can put this on any color. So if you didn't have the metallics, but you had the metallic lusters, but you have the pearlizing medium, then when you could, you know, do some pretty colors in here on the body and then brush this on top of it. So I think that is just going to look gorgeous when it dries. So I'm going to get that dry, and I'm going to get my second coat next to my lettering, and then I'm going to get it put together, and then we'll come back and see how it looks all together. Okay, here we go. Box is back together. Have our hardware on. Our hooks inside for necklaces and bracelets or earrings, whatever. And then I've got to get that one screw tight, and there we go. What a pretty box. Pretty, pretty, pretty box for a little girl to hang her jewelry in. And she can set it on her counter, dresser. And like I said, this particular box is, I can't find it, but Cabin Crafters, I believe, or CD Wood. Let me think. Yeah, Cabin Crafters had a key keeper box that was similar in size to this one. It was a little bit deeper than this one, and it had a flat top instead of a curved top, but would work just as well doing the same design on it. Or you can put it on any surface that you like. This was a fun project for me to do, a new kind of style of painting for me, and I enjoyed every bit of it. So I hope that you enjoyed it too, and I'd love to see your painting, so please post pictures, and I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks for painting with me.